Welcome, everyone. My name is Nayada Schuler, and I serve as the chair of SACAC's webinar committee and will be assisting behind the scenes with technical support as well as monitoring the Q&A throughout today's webinar. So again, on behalf of SACAC and the webinar committee, we would like to welcome you to today's sponsored webinar titled Guiding Families Through the Financial Piece of College Planning. Essential Strategies and Resources for Counselors. This section features Cyndi Menegaz, National Program Director at SMARTTRACK, and is ultimately designed to spotlight strategies and resources for counselors, independent educational consultants, and even community based organizations as you continue to center your discussions regarding college funding and financial aid with families and supporters of your scholars. So throughout the webinar, you will have an opportunity to learn more about SMARTTRACK, about SMARTTRACK's college funding high school initiative, while also exploring essential strategies to improve parent or supporter engagement and elevate college affordability. So a few housekeeping notes as you are getting settled in this space. This is a webinar format, so audience mics are muted. We do encourage you, audience, to use the Q&A box if you have any questions for our presenter and forthcoming panelists. And if time allows, we will have the chance or the opportunity to answer those questions towards the end of our time together today. Again, this webinar is also being recorded and will later be posted to SACCAC's YouTube channel for future viewing, as well as shared with all of you, those who have registered for today's webinar. So again, thank you so much for joining us today. And now I will pass things over to Cyndi to get us started.
Thank you so much, Nayada, and thank you so much, all of you who are joined here with us today. Um, my name is Cyndi Menegaz. I'm the National Program Director at SmartTrack College Funding, and I've been running our partnership programs for nearly 10 years. I originally came to the company as a client when we were trying to figure out how to pay for our twins to go to college. The experience was so helpful that I ended up switching careers and I joined the company. Our boys have long since graduated from their colleges of choice, and we did it debt free. So, we're going to be talking today about the missing piece of the college planning puzzle, and you're going to get recommendations for how to fill any gaps and really level up your approach to financial aid education. You will also be able to determine whether the free Smart Track College Funding High School initiative makes sense for you and your school. Now, the high cost of college has become an increasingly important conversation in schools over the past number of years for a variety of reasons. You have diverse student populations, and you're seeing a lot of families looking for advice about paying for college, regardless of their financial circumstances. There are plenty of families on both extreme ends of the financial spectrum at your schools, but also a large number of families who are in the middle and tend to fall through the cracks in the financial aid system. For all of your families, whether they have high demonstrated need, can pay some but not all, or they don't qualify for need based aid, but they still feel the burden of what can be a $90,000 a year, you really want to help them find ways to help themselves, right? Now, it's not always easy finding the right financial fit for students, but that's especially true when a lot of kids are looking at selective schools that only give need based aid. It makes it even more important for families to understand their financial profiles. And while the new FAFSA is supposed to be more straightforward, it really changes how parents' finances are assessed. There is more emphasis than ever on their tax structure. And with prior year, there's a pressure on them to get their financial ducks in a row much earlier in the process. And then there are demands on you by your administrators to see great college outcomes. And you have a heavy workload, especially when many of you wear multiple hats. And you're expected by anxious parents to have all the answers around college admissions. They really rely on you to get them through the whole process. Many families are asking specific financial questions that are really beyond your purview or expertise. And that's not your fault, of course. The financial part, how to pay for it, isn't something that your offices are trained to do, nor are most of you interested in having conversations with parents about their personal finances. But you need a reputable way um, to get you through all of this and to really bridge that gap between what's appropriate for you to offer and what parents need. Now, we hear from counselors all the time who are frustrated by parents who come to the college planning process ill prepared. And whether it's parents who hope that everything will just work out, or they just didn't realize how expensive the full cost of attendance is going to be, or if they're receiving financial aid at their private high school, they assume the colleges are going to be equally generous when even one student has to turn down an admission offer to their choice school because the financial piece didn't fall into place, it's a real shame and often avoidable. So, there's been a pretty standard way for discussing the financial aid system in this country for many years, and it centers around a financial aid night for seniors, and sometimes junior families attend too, right? Usually it's in the fall, often with a financial aid officer from a local college or a state run program to explain the nuts and bolts. And then we have recommendations to use net price and EFC calculators to estimate those likely costs and aid, instructions to submit financial aid applications, and directing students to pursue private scholarships if they're concerned about cost. So, does this sound familiar? You can give me a show of hands. Use the raise hands button in Zoom. A lot of you tell us it's not very effective, and a lot of the folks that should be attending don't show up, right? So, with some simple changes, you can really improve your effectiveness and parental engagement. Now, many parents are shocked to find out when they realize um, uh, that usually, I should say, many families are shocked when they realize, and usually it's when their kids are seniors, that they are being assessed on their prior year's tax returns. So families need to be thinking strategically about paying for college at least 2 or 3 years before they're even going to apply. The financial decisions that they're making when their students are still sophomores can dramatically impact their aid eligibility. So there's this huge shift when you start having these conversations with your ninth and 10th grade families. The timeline for parents, it's different than their students. And let me ask you, how well attended are these financial aid nights? We found that parents tune out if they think it doesn't apply to them. When you talk about college funding, though, it's amazing how their ears perk up because everyone is concerned about paying for college affordably. But few understand that financial aid actually applies to them too. Another thing I want to mention here is that college funding planning, it's not the same as financial aid planning. It's not just how to fill out the forms. So financial aid of course generally refers to loans and gifts and tax credits that can help some families pay for college, but not everyone is eligible. College funding, on the other hand, is the strategic approach to making it easier and less expensive to pay for college, and it's relevant to everyone. Now, net price and EFC calculators can be really helpful, but while estimators can provide a baseline of what parents can expect to see in an aid package, they do nothing for helping them determine how they can qualify for more aid, make their dollars stretch to cover all their children, and better pay their share of those costs. And while it's really important to teach families about how to access the financial aid system, families who enter that system without making sure they're in the best position possible will not be assessed as favorably as they could be. And with private scholarships, I think they get a lot more attention than is really warranted. And we have to manage parents' expectations here because, they make up less than 4% of all of the aid in the system. They're usually small denominations, they're very competitive. And then some schools' stacking policies will count it against their aid packages. So, as a strategy to consistently cover college costs, it tends to be insufficient for most families. Now, the number one reason students don't attend their choice college is cost. And yet, families overpay for college by an average just over $22,000 per student per year. Why is that? Well, it's because they make some truly terrible assumptions about the financial aid system and how it works. They assume they won't qualify for aid because their income or assets are too high, or that financial aid is only for low income families, so it doesn't apply to them. They don't strategically organize their financial profile in the years before their kids apply to college. It would be like submitting your tax return without taking every legitimate deduction. They don't manage their current and future debts to their advantage. They don't heed their counselor's advice to create a college list that is both balanced for admission, but also built with historically aid generous schools that are a good financial match to the family. Sometimes they allow sticker price or the size of endowment to influence their choices, not understanding that often those expensive private schools can end up costing less than public state. And they make even simple mistakes on the financial application forms and inadvertently disqualify themselves from aid they would otherwise be eligible to receive. And then this one perhaps is the least understood but most impactful. And that is that people don't understand that how you pay, what assets you use, can significantly impact how much you pay for college. So, for example, we see parents use retirement resources when they're less than 59 and a half years old. There's a 10% penalty, plus there's lost opportunity cost, right? That money isn't growing anymore. So many colleges don't count retirement against you, but once the parent takes the money out of that shell, it's often counted as income. So they've just inadvertently shrunk their aid package. It doesn't mean using retirement resources is the wrong answer. It just means it needs to be considered in context, in view of all their other circumstances. Another example is that, a lot of people want to use their house as a resource to pay for college, which can be a great strategy if it's done properly. Problem is that sometimes those dollars cause major tax consequences and can hurt aid eligibility. So the bottom line is that college ends up costing tens of thousands of dollars a year more than it has to because people often don't know what they don't know or they aren't getting the right information early. We found that most families fall into one of these four category ranges. And as high school counselors, you have to address the differing concerns of all of them. Obviously, your high need families have very different issues than those with significant means, but you also have to offer support to those who fall between the cracks in the financial aid system, those with some income or assets, but who can't just easily pay full price out of pocket. Families' needs are different and their solutions are different, not just generally for the category they're in, but individually. Their circumstances vary widely from one another, and so do the strategies that can help them. College funding recommendations are not one size fits all, they have to be tailored to each specific family to be truly impactful. So, I want to address the elephant in the room here, EFC and SAI calculations. Have you ever had a middle income or upper middle income family tell you that they were happy with their EFC? No? It's more like, are you kidding me? Why is our EFC so high? This is ridiculous, right? So we are taught to believe that a family's EFC is what it is. The fact is, though, that through no fault of their own, just the way folks have their financial lives organized, their income, assets, investments, rental property, business structure, tax return, college savings, etc., can artificially inflate their expected family contribution and student aid index calculations. And that's a problem. They need to identify any red flags in their profiles and take steps to mitigate those issues long before they ever submit a financial aid application. Again, we're talking about one of the critical differences between college funding planning and financial aid. And this is where families actually have some agency in the process. And you need to be empowering them. They cannot just sit back, cross their fingers, submit their FAFSA, and hope to get the aid they need. This is especially important when so many elite schools don't offer merit aid, but they do a good job meeting needs. A lower, more representative EFC means a family can show more need in their profile and end up with aid packages that can make all the difference. We often see that how a family presents on paper isn't always an accurate reflection of their situation because, figures on a form don't always tell the whole story. But planning ahead keeps them from giving the colleges the wrong impression. And waiting to explain themselves during the appeals process, it can be too little, too late. It doesn't always deliver results. Now, when we do a thorough college funding analysis, we can identify any red flags that inflate costs and find opportunities to reduce them and identify the best funding strategies for each family. Again, everyone's situation is going to be different. So we look at income, we look at assets, and it's not just about how much there is, the value of their assets, the money they have. It's about how assets are structured that can really impact a family's profile. We look at current and potential debt, tax structure and planning, student debt. We talked about EFCs and SAIs, equity in real estate, business structure and valuation, opportunity costs, and finding missed opportunities to open up some more cash flow. Grandparent assets and contributions, how they might in fact affect these calculations. Family structure. So if there's a divorce or a separation, non-custodial parents, inheritances, the best ways to use the assets that they have, right? Uh, Borrowing options. Now, of course, our goal is always to reduce the family's need to borrow, but also to pay down those needed debts in smarter ways. And then balancing those twin goals of paying for college and retirement. So the bottom line is that planning ahead to pay for college is going to help families lower the cost. Let's try that again. Lower the cost by maximizing their need and merit based eligibility, reducing dependence on expensive loans, and identify the best funding strategies unique to their circumstances. Now, there are no cookie cutter solution. What helps one family might damage another's profile. But what's key here is that families understand what their best options are so they can make educated decisions about the financial health and well being of their own family. Now, this process cannot create money out of thin air. It is not magic or a shell game, but it can organize the pieces of the puzzle in a way to better depict the real picture and help families be assessed within the financial aid system as favorably as possible. So let me give you a few examples of even what I mean. So this family saved in a college savings account suggested by their wealth manager when their kids were young. But because of how the funds were situated, it elevated their EFCs by tens of thousands of dollars. Restructuring those funds to be within Department of Education rules and guidelines brought their EFCs down, resulting in generous aid package offers. Now, this family, they own a business. They thought they'd have to borrow to fill a gap, but we were able to find tax strategies that opened up enough cash flow to fill the gap, eliminating their need to borrow money altogether. They were happy about that. This family, they have a modest income, but they inherited money that they needed to earmark for the long term care of their disabled daughter. Safeguarding those assets so they weren't counted against their son's aid eligibility allowed them to send their son to college affordably and support both their children's needs. So, while your primary role as a college counselor or guidance counselor is to help students find great fit schools where they will thrive and put their best foot forward in the application process, SmartTrack's primary job is to make sure your families are as well prepared as possible to pay for it. They're really two sides of the same college planning coin. And traditionally, you've only had the tools to meaningfully address the student services side. But college is way too expensive now to leave the other side to chance or to an outdated financial aid curriculum that inadequately serves only some of your family. So, I'm going to tell you a bit about SmartTrack and the free high school initiative that's been such a popular resource for hundreds of schools across the country. Now, by way of introduction, SmartTrack has a nationwide team of licensed financial professionals, certified college funding experts, as well as a platform of online tools and resources to help families through the complicated college funding and financial aid processes. We've been in business for nearly 25 years and have helped well over 400,000 families fund college for all their children. In fact, we educate more families on how to pay for college efficiently than any other college funding company in the country. And it's because of our size, investment in technology, and the relationships we've built that has allowed SmartTrack to really level the playing field and make important college funding resources far more accessible and advanced services for those who may need them much more affordable. Now, I'm really excited to announce too that we are in the process of becoming a 501(c)(3) nonprofit, which will really allow us to help even more families. So the high school initiative, it's a free resource designed to help counselors be more effective without adding to your workload and to empower parents to be more successful in the college funding planning and financial aid. So, hundreds of schools across the country of every variety participate in the program, which provides parent education, objective professional college funding evaluations for all your parents, and access to helpful free resources and tools on our platform. Now, we also extend steeply discounted advanced services for those families who can significantly benefit and who opt to work with us. We're talking under $500 for a comprehensive college funding plan. And just so you know, that's in contrast to industry standard, which is in the several thousands of dollars. Okay, let me give you a breakdown on how the initiative works. Um, oops, there we go. Um, So, we give you the ability to educate parents about the college funding process with webinars in the fall and again in the spring. And it's critical that families with ninth, 10th, and 11th graders learn this stuff as early as possible. So, of course, we discuss the financial aid system, but we go far beyond it with a focus on how to get better results within it. So we can accommodate about 8 to 10 schools, inviting their families per session, which our counselors really like so they don't feel the pressure to fill the room by themselves. And parents really like the Zoom format because it's anonymous and it's recorded. Um, I think that the second semester sessions, the winter and the spring, are really important, especially for your 10th grade families, because every month of 2025 that goes by affects their primary base year. And for your 11th grade parents, the spring and summer, it's really their last chance to review and address any issues in their profile because once their kids are seniors, they've really run out of time to help themselves. So, we also provide a comprehensive workshop companion guide that goes into greater detail, and it's really helpful since it's such a big and important topic. We're really able to make additions and changes and updates to keep it current. And we think we've really struck the right balance of providing critical information without overwhelming parents or asking too much of their time. Now, the cornerstone of the initiative is that all of your families can get a professional, confidential college funding evaluation with tips and recommendations based on their unique circumstances. There is absolutely no cost or obligation. It's just a really huge opportunity to have their financial considerations reviewed, takes the burden off your plate of trying to answer their specific financial questions. So you can give them what they need in this area without having to become an expert yourself. And then parents can get unlimited access to the helpful freemium planning resources on our platform. So, for counselors, the initiative includes custom program assets and webinar assets. So, it's all right there for you. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. We also provide content that you can use throughout the year in your newsletters or blog posts or social media on the subject of paying for college. Now, the hardest thing you have to do is choose your dates each year for the sessions offered in your time zone. We provide you with everything from a suggested communication timeline to email templates, and you could just copy, paste, and send. So you can give your families access to these benefits by coming on board. And to do that, you just send me your logo. And that way we can create your custom landing page and program assets. We will then provide you with a short blurb that you can post on your college counseling webpage or your parent portal, wherever you keep other college planning resources, so that parents can create their free account and get their evaluations when they're ready. Now, most families, especially those with relatively straightforward financial lives, will find that with the webinars, the private evaluations, and the free tools, they have what they need to help themselves at no cost whatsoever. Some folks with more complex financial situations may benefit from one on one planning to develop their best college funding strategies. And if they opt to work with us, we extend our steepest discounts through the high school initiative. And all of these resources and discounts are open to your faculty and staff too. So the parent uses your custom landing page to create their SmartTrack account. And you should know that these are parent accounts, not student accounts. And we don't share any information with any third parties, including counselors, schools, the IRS, nobody, not even you. Once they've created an account, parents will take a general assessment so that we can provide them with a meaningful evaluation. Now, this shouldn't take more than 5 to 10 minutes. And we don't ask for any sensitive information, certainly no birth dates or social security numbers, account numbers, tax returns, nothing like that. We also use military grade security protocols so you can feel confident about encouraging your parents to take advantage of the program. So then they're going to follow the prompts to get their evaluation. For some families, we'll give recommendations and resources to implement the strategies on their own. If their situation is more complex and we can make a consequential difference, we may recommend working together. But the choice is always theirs. There's no pressure. It's not a sales pitch. We often tell families, in fact, that you don't need advanced college funding planning. And again, the process is entirely private and confidential. Okay, so I'm going to quickly run through the paid services that we do offer. We developed a premium suite of self directed software tools to help families identify the schools on their list that could be a good financial match. This tool really supports your efforts to build a balanced college list by helping parents broaden their thinking. Uh, we maximize merit based aid opportunities and then support parents through the entirety of the financial aid application process so they are completing their forms correctly and strategically. So the discounted price for the premium software suite, it's $247 as a standalone. We really try to make it as affordable as possible so that it could help the most people. And then for folks who can significantly benefit from advanced college funding planning, we offer our advisor service, which includes as many one on one meetings as are necessary to develop and implement a comprehensive funding plan covering all the kids in the family. Advisor services are $397 on their own. And then, of course, we also offer SmartTrack Advisor and the Premium Suite as a bundle for a one time flat fee of $497 for our high school initiative families. That's not per student or per year, it's one time. And it's really designed to take the family through all of the high school years. So parents start with their planning as early as ninth, 10th grade, and then use the premium tools once their students' college search has begun in earnest. And it takes them all the way through senior year until they're matriculating. So the initiative is available in one of two ways. So the vast majority of our schools use the free version. There is no cost to your school or to your families. It's everything I've described here for you today. The school sponsored version was created because we have some schools with generous budgets who wanted to offer our comprehensive advanced college funding bundle for all their families at no cost to the parent. So if you are interested in this version, it's an annual fee based on the size of your upper school population, and I can get you a quote. But most families find that the free version is a total no brainer. Again, we have designed the initiative so that participating is really easy. You just send me your logo so that we can create your custom assets for you to post on your college planning resources page. You will then choose your preferred date for a webinar from the available sessions in your time zone, and then use some of the messaging options we supply to encourage your families to attend. There's no red tape, it's really straightforward. So we are so pleased to see a lot more schools in the South taking advantage of the initiative. I just wanted to give you some examples here to give you an idea of who of your colleagues are already on board. And that way, if you see folks you know, you can reach out and talk to them about their experience. So we can help you easily implement these important takeaways. Don't wait until families have an 11th or 12th grader to start talking to them about paying for college. I promise you, parents who've been through this process and have prepared themselves early are so much easier for you to work with later when their kids are seniors. Make an easy semantic change from financial aid to talking about college funding and making college more affordable. And then give parents the resources and information to be successful within the financial aid system. Okay. So, one of our participating counselors, Donna Reeb Robles at Collegiate School, told me that she always thought dreams were made in the admissions office. But over time, she realized that dreams were actually made or broken in the financial aid office. When families have to decide not to send their student to a school because it's cost prohibitive, or when families say, oh, well, we'll make it work for the first year and then see what happens after that. You worry about them. You care about your students. And when you can help them find schools that are the right fit and they get accepted and they get the merit offers and the need based aid that they need, it's like all the pieces have come together and it's really rewarding work. We feel the same way at SmartTrack. Our mission as a company is to see more kids attend their best fit school as affordably as humanly possible without crippling debt or damaging their parents' financial futures. And our goal with the high school initiative in particular is to support counselors with the resources you need so that you can better serve your families. We can make you look good, we can make your job easier and more effective, and we can help you get better student outcomes. It's really gratifying. Everybody wins. So there is a lot of demand to come on board in advance of second semester, but it's not too late. I just released these dates to our participating schools. But space is limited, they do fill up. So if you think you might be interested in participating or would like for me to review the program with the rest of your team, please email me right away. I put some information into the chat there for you. Nayada, maybe you could copy it and repaste it too, or I'll do that again in a second. So you have my contact information. Okay. So I believe that we have some time for Q&A, and I think I can see here, yeah, we've got one of our participating counselors with us who can share her experience too. Um, Thank you so much, Jody. One of the ways we can keep this program free and our advanced services so affordable is that we don't spend any money advertising. Uh, Word of mouth is everything. So I am so grateful to my friend Jody Hester from Woodward Academy for joining us today. Hi,
Sure.
Jody.
Hi, Cindy. Thank you so much for inviting me to come and talk about something that it's easy and it's a great service. So I'm happy to be with you all today.
Thank you so much. And folks, I've just put that information back in the chat in case you didn't. Yada, did you find that there are questions that you want to have us address?
Cindy, while we're waiting for that, can I just put
Yeah,
one word
go ahead.
for any counselors who may be on the call today who are sort of you're not quite sure? I would just encourage you to really go ahead and take the leap and just really sign up. I think this is maybe our third cycle or third year being a member of the initiatives program, and it just is such an easy lift. And you all have really filled in a gap that I feel like we had in our programming here at Woodward. So again, I just encourage any counselors to take the leap and try it out. It really is a great product.
Uh, I appreciate that feedback, Jody. I think that change is hard. And when folks get accustomed to doing things in a certain way, it's hard to rock that boat and say, well, we want to try to implement something new and see what happens. One of the things that some of the feedback that we get about the program is that there's no red tape. You don't have to sign an agreement. You're not agreeing to anything. You know
Mhm.
what? This program is designed to be helpful and support you. And for as long as it does that, great, you'll keep participating because it helps you and supports you. And if at any time you feel like it's not working for you, then you cease to use it. So we really tried to make it a low bar for entry, and to provide as much resource and support as possible. Um, Hi there, Nayada. Did you see? Were there any questions?
Yes, yes. So we do have a question in the Q&A, and it's a question about whether the resources shared are available to independent educational consultants as well.
Oh, well, that's a really great question. So, uh, the Smart Track College Funding program has several different cooperative programs. The High School Initiative is, of course, the one that we're highlighting today, and it's for use in schools. But we have other cooperative programs for IECs, for businesses, nonprofits, employee benefits organizations. We help families across the country through various partnerships of all different types. So, if you are an IEC and you're interested in providing college funding planning for your clients, yes, we have a program for that. So do just reach out to me and I can explain more of how that works for you. Are there questions that we have from our attendees? Anybody have any questions about the presentation or anything else about the financial aid education process or your current curriculum? Anything at all you want to ask? Don't be shy.
So we do have a question, and this question it leans to not only a conversation with you, Cindy, but also with you, Jody, as well. So there is a question in the Q&A. Essentially, one of our colleagues, our peers, indicated that they are experiencing a challenge working with mostly low-income immigrant students and parents or supporters. And so some of them have indicated that they, or some of them have demonstrated that they do not understand what it means to take out a lot of loans for college, believing that it would work out, and they are applying to very expensive colleges. So our colleague is asking about any suggestions we have as a collective as they are working with their students who, again, mostly represent low income backgrounds.
And so I think what SmartTrack does is I have found it particularly helpful for upper middle class families. So thinking about this population, first gen low income, I think it could be great information, but I'm almost wondering if as a school, maybe you want to take a step back and just do a really great old fashioned financial literacy program to really explain what student debt looks like, to talk about the average amount of debt that we're finding college students typically are graduating with, and then certainly then to feed in, how does financial aid work? What does that look like? To also bring in kind of like projections of income based on careers. But for your population, I'm like, just let's go back and do a good old fashioned financial literacy type of workshop. So SMARTTRACK is awesome, but for this population, I think you need to kind of take it to ground zero. And let's talk about financial literacy, because the reality, and again, I'm a Midwesterner, native Midwesterner. We tend to be very practical people. And I think we would all agree that significant debt is that ball and chain that these young people are taking into college, and then to think about that first landing, that first career after college. And we don't want to see that for our young people. So do an old-fashioned financial literacy workshop.
I also want to tag on to that, Jody. Thank you. For lower income, higher need families, um, while college funding planning is really designed, advanced college funding planning is designed for those families that tend to fall in the middle. It also really does expand and help families on either end of that spectrum too. With your high need populations, just because they're already qualified for financial aid based on their income and their assets or lack thereof, it doesn't mean that colleges have to give them any aid. And there are still steps they need to take to get everything they're qualified for and to maintain their eligibility for aid. And so those are the kinds of recommendations that SMARTTRACK will make with regard to those populations. Um, Looking at schools that are a good financial fit, including those that are likely to provide strong aid packages based on historical generosity, and making sure that they're completing their aid applications properly and strategically so they're not inadvertently disqualifying themselves from the aid they'd otherwise be eligible for. These are some really helpful practical tips that can help families really manage this process and get as much funding as they need and as they're eligible for, so that they're not in a position to take on so much debt. Um, that's one thing I would say as far as how SMARTTRACK approaches families from that piece of the spectrum. And then, just because we're talking about it, on the other end of the spectrum, a lot of you might have really high net worth families, affluent families who assume that, all right, well, it is what it is, just get my kid in, we'll pay for it. And then later realize, oh wow, it's 90 to $100,000 a year cost of attendance for these schools, and we have how many kids? So they're concerned too. And even if it's not about financial aid, paying for college affordably isn't just about grants and scholarships and how much aid they're going to get. It can also be about structuring their own financials so that they're saving money while they're paying for college. So we want to address all of those issues across the entire spectrum. I hope that's helpful.
Thank you, Cyndi and Jody. I do want to also open the floor again for any questions that you all may have. Again, we really appreciate your engagement and your questions, and we want to provide you with that opportunity to ask those questions of Cyndi and Jody as well. So again, please feel free to use the Q&A to ask any questions that you may have. As we are awaiting any additional questions, Cyndi and Jody, I would love for you if you have any parting thoughts or takeaways, especially as we look ahead not only at additional conversations about college funding, but also just any parting thoughts you have for those who are currently working with scholars who are awaiting their decisions, awaiting their offer letters, and really trying to have those conversations centering around college financial planning and college affordability.
This is just from a counselor side practical. I just want to remind all of us that the Department of Education has extended the beta testing of the 25-26 FAFSA. And so any interested student, family now has access to the FAFSA, even if they didn't sign up, if they weren't participating in the first 4 rounds of beta testing. It's now available to anyone to go to the website prior to our official launch of December 1. So I would just encourage you to get the word out about that to your students, to your seniors and their parents, that if they want to jump in with the FAFSA, Department of Education, I believe it was just maybe Monday or Tuesday of this week that they made that. So I'd want to remind us about that. And my last takeaway would be, I know I live in Georgia and we do have the Hope Scholarship here, but the reality is Hope is not a strategic plan when it comes to college affordability and funding. And so I feel that as educators, it's our job to help our families, help our students approach something that really can be scary and uncomfortable. And so again, Hope is not a strategic plan when it comes to financing. So to provide resources for our communities to help them begin engaging in sometimes difficult conversations. There are 2 disappointments in the college application journey. It's disappointing for students not to be admitted to colleges where they wanted to be admitted, and it's disappointing for them to be admitted to those schools but families can't afford it. So Hope it's not that plan. Let's get out and start thinking about financing earlier.
We find we have a lot of families who've put one child through college and they paid, this is a terrible expression, but they paid through the nose, right? They really overpaid and they don't want that to happen again. And then they find us and they're like, oh, wow, I really wish I'd have known this stuff beforehand. I could have saved myself so much money. And they're smarter the second time around. So to your point, Jody, Hope isn't enough. You got to give them tools to help them really evaluate themselves and make some decisions and consider. It's that what they don't know what they don't know. And so if you're in a position to be able to help educate them there, it really does make a huge difference. I did get a couple of our other counselors who are participating in the program. They wanted to be here today, but they had some conflicting appointments. But they did want to share their thoughts with you about this program. So if you don't mind, I can go ahead and read what they submitted to me. They asked me to share with you. I'll read what they had to say. So Maria Caamano at the Cushman School in Miami, she says, our families have greatly benefited from the services provided by SMARTTRACK, from the workshops and private evaluations offered to the discounted services. Our partnership with SMARTTRACK has been really beneficial for our school. And Hunter Upchurch, the director of college counseling at Jackson Prep in Mississippi, says, our partnership with SMARTTRACK has allowed us to offer our families knowledgeable college funding planning provided in an accessible manner. And the materials, specifically the webinars, impart concrete advice, especially for our 9th and 10th grade families, about how to plan ahead and pay for college. I'm so grateful that SMARTTRACK allows me to concentrate on all of the other aspects of the college search and application process, list building, family meetings, essay revision, writing letters of recommendations. So thank you, Hunter, for that. And then, folks, if you have any interest and want to learn some more too, when I respond back to you, I'll give you a full list of or a sample list of all kinds of participating schools and many, many other quotes from your colleagues and share their experiences about the program. And I thank them all because, again, word of mouth is everything for this program. And that's how it's grown. And that's why I was so excited to address SACAC, because the program took off initially on the coasts, the East Coast and West Coast, a lot of schools on the coast, and it's slower going in the South and in the Midwest, but it's growing. And as you see your neighboring schools and your colleagues taking advantage of it and validating it, it's easier to be able to say to your administrators, hey, this is a program that makes a lot of sense. Everybody else is doing it. Why aren't we? Shouldn't be left behind. And the same is true for public schools. We just happen to become popular among independent schools, just again about word of mouth. But there is no reason why public districts and schools and charter schools should not be providing these resources and having these options. It's free. There's, it's like allow yourselves to be able to really give your families every opportunity. So I hope that we can be of service.
Thank you, Cindy and Jody. It looks like we have a few additional questions that
Great.
came through the Q&A, and I love the engagement. So we will, of course, address those questions as well. The first question is specifically for you, Cindy. The question is verbatim: are we able to give out the company name to individuals we are not willing if we are not willing to take on this program as a school? So that again is a question from the audience.
So that's great. So yeah, so Smart Track takes families, from I would say from the public. If they find us on the internet and they come to us through our public facing um, site, they are able to create an account. But the evaluations and discounted advanced services that we provide through our high school initiative or some of our other partner programs will not be available to them. So yes, of course we can help them. And even our full price resources are so much more affordable than what is industry standard. So we'd be delighted to work with them if you just want to refer folks. We appreciate that. Really, the benefit to them is through the education and the evaluations and the steeply discounted resources to support them should they want to pursue that. Is really a benefit of the high school initiative. So it's helpful to come through the school. I hope that helps.
Thank you. And then the next question we have is from, again, a colleague from the audience. And this question is specifically for you, Jody. So the question is asking, how did you and your team roll out SmartTRACK specifically, or your partnership to your students and their families?
So one thing to remember, so, I think like a lot of our schools, Woodward, we did more of the traditional financial aid night where we would invite a director or VP of student financial aid from one of our college colleagues to come and do that more traditional evening, that overview of financial aid. As a school, we also will bring in people from Georgia Student Finance Commission to talk about that. So we did not eliminate that nuts and bolts. What is FAFSA? What is financial aid? We still maintain that, but this was an addition. And it really started for me. I think, Cyndi, you came and gave this great presentation to Access. And again, as an independent school, we're part of this. And it really began to pique my interest and really began to think about a gap that you're right. So many families, particularly our middle, upper income, high income families, just thought it would tune out when we would talk about need-based financial aid. And I knew there had to be something that we were missing. And that's where, for us at least, SmartTRACK really kind of fit that gap. So we added it. It's on our website. It's easy access. And really, what Cyndi said about an easy lift, it really is. I sent out an email on behalf of our team about, hey, guess what, everybody? We're part of this new, exciting high school initiative program. Here are the benefits for you. And then here are our dates. And so we typically do a program partner with Cyndi. We have one in the fall. We do one in the spring. For the spring program is really for our 9th through 11th grade families. The one in the fall is open to everyone. It's on our website. It started with an email, added it, and really talked about the benefit for families. And our feedback from families who have taken advantage of it is they found it very, very helpful. I know we have some families who just did kind of like the free stuff, that free initial assessment, but I do believe we've had some who also maybe wanted more services, more of a hands-on approach, but it was super easy just to communicate. And honestly, I think families are so grateful that we're providing this. And Cyndi, you said something so important. For those upper income families, writing the check for $32,000, it's okay. But when you're suddenly asked to write a check for $85,000, $90,000, oh, we got a problem with that. And that's where that college affordability piece and that conversation is super important for those families to help them begin to make smart moves and adjustments before they get to senior year where, and honestly, with prior stuff with the FAFSA, That's where you really got to start, ninth grade, so families can make those necessary moves to ensure they're in the best position possible. So I'm hopeful somewhere in there I answered it, but it was super easy. An email, add it to the website, and then just messaging about the program. And the reception from our community, it was pretty well received.
Thank you, Jody. We aim to make it as easy as possible. And just so you know, we um, are flexible and are able to implement changes and recommendations from our counselors. The point is that we are there to support you and to help your job be more effective without adding to your workload. So we really do take that into
Oh,
consideration.
and
And
one last thing I just want to say about the
yeah,
piece of it, Cindy. She gives you the words. I mean, you can tweak it a little piece, but the template of what you need to say about each program and what's happening, again, it's an easy lift, y'all. It really is. And again, practical person that I am, I don't want to present anything to anybody that is not, we're even free, that there's still some value. And this is it's been a great service for us.
Awesome. Thank you all. I do know that we have quite a few questions. We will, it looks like we have a question in the chat and then one that just popped up in the Q&A. So we will address those two questions for sure. The question in the chat says, is it too late for a family of a senior to use SmartTrack?
so by senior year, they've kind of run out of runway, planning for how to cover their college costs and adjusting their profile accordingly takes months, sometimes years to fully implement, which is why we recommend they start so much earlier. For senior families at this point in the year, I mean, maybe if we were talking August, September, they might have some time to make a few adjustments to things before they submit. Um, if the family has not, or if I should say, if the student has not already applied to their colleges, then the premium software tools might actually be really helpful even yet. Once they've applied, there's really not a whole lot. They've just run out of runway. There's just run out of time. But again, if they haven't applied yet, then those premium tools might be helpful. They can help with looking at historically aid generous schools and making sure they're not missing opportunities for merit aid at the schools the child is going to apply to. And then there's a ton of information, video tutorials, and a huge question and answer bank, and uh, live webinars that are then recorded and available for viewing, um, that are all part of that premium software suite that we offer through the high school initiative at 247. So that could be beneficial to the family. But the advanced planning, not so much, unless they have a younger student. If they're looking at, they have another student to put through college and they want to make sure that they're going to still have money for that, then yeah, it's not too late for that. I hope that helped. Is there another question, Nayara?
Yes, yes. So our final question is in the Q&A, and they're just asking for additional clarity. So the question reads, just to be clear, the educational resources are free to high schools. However, if families want to get more information, then it is a low cost to the parent, correct?
That's close. I would say that there is a ton. It's free to the school. It's free to the parents. There is a ton of information that families are getting in this program without spending a dime. Many families, most families, don't need to spend anything to get what they need. In fact, with the webinars and the workshop companion guides that go into so much more detail on all of the subjects we bring up in the webinar, plus those evaluations, that's really key. There's no cost for anybody for any of that. And then, depending on the family's circumstances and their interest, they can work with us. They can work with anyone else of their choosing. They can do it all on their own. It really is in the ball's in their court. But we just want to help them understand that they have what options are available to them so that they can move forward as they see fit. So I hope that helps. Yeah.
So thank you so much. And before we wrap up, I would love to provide you, Cyndi, with an opportunity to again share your information
Oh,
with
okay, great.
our participants, those in our audience, for those who are interested in connecting with you, scheduling a meeting, and further exploring Smart Track and the resources available as well.
Yeah, so if you're interested in coming on board, super easy. Just send me an email with your logo, PNG or JPEG file is all I need. And then I'll respond to you and I'll ask you a couple of follow-up questions. It helps us to know if you abbreviate the name of your school, we build that into your assets, or if there are other colleagues on your team who should also receive the correspondence from us and the assets that we provide you, that kind of stuff. And then we'll create your resources and I'll get you the list of dates. I've been working on it all week. In fact, I haven't even gotten them to you yet, Jody, but I intend to before the end of the week. We have all of our dates for the winter and spring we start offering them in February through May in everybody's time zone. You'll just pick a date that says, oh yeah, here's one that doesn't conflict with our vacation schedule or something else on campus. So yeah, hold that date for me. And then those dates fill up because again, we can handle about 8 to 10 schools max per session. Everybody has their own unique branded materials to invite their families, but it just means that people from around the country are joining one particular session in cyberspace anonymously, of course. So that's all it takes. So but reach out to me now because all of our participating schools, hundreds of schools, are getting the dates for winter and spring now, and those dates will fill up. So if you want to participate, please let me know. Give me that heads up. Send me your logo when you can. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you all. So again, thank you to Cyndi, to Jody, and thank you to everyone who joined us for today's webinar as well. I hope that this was not only helpful for you to learn more about SmartTrack, connect with Cyndi, and learn more about the resources and opportunities that are available to you all as well. But I hope that the information shared with you is information that you can utilize in shaping conversations around financial planning and the college investment as well. So again, thank you again to everyone for joining us as well. Please note that the webinar was recorded and it will be available via our YouTube channel, but also it will be shared with all registrants as well. We also encourage you from here to be on the lookout for SACAC announcements about upcoming webinars coming soon. Again, thank you all for joining us. Please feel free to tune into or take a look at the chat for Cyndi's information. And until next time, have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much, Jody. Thank you for being
Thank you
here.
for
Nayada,
asking.
thanking you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to share this with all of you guys. It's such a pleasure. I
Bye-bye.
look forward to hearing from y'all and being of service. Take care.